Let's watch a cartoon with no plot, 70s kids bop, and dad jokes for days. Welcome to Hester Bros Cartoon Theater. I'm Alec, this is my brother Lucas, and this is our Weird Cartoon series, where we unpack some crazy cartoon concepts from animation history. And because it is Halloween month, we're doing something a little bit creepier today.
If you want to call it that.
We watched a cartoon called Groovie Ghoulies. I've wanted to watch this cartoon ever since I saw the DVD cover online years ago, and I was not disappointed.
Do you want to know what my biggest takeaway was that I wrote down? It's as if someone spiked my Boo-Berry cereal with acid and methamphetamine.
Oh yeah! I usually say the premise here in this early spot. There's no plot, there are a bunch of monster characters living in this place, Horrible Hall, and they tell rapid-fire jokes for the whole episode and sing 2 really bad songs. We do have this main trio of characters, Drat, Frankie, and Wolfie, but they're far from the only characters. People, this show is, out of this world, okay?
I honestly have almost no idea how to even talk about this show. It was so wild. If these weird-ass things interest you, intrigue you, make you feel something, anything,
I don't care what it is.
hit that subscribe button, like us, follow our stuff. We're pretty freaking close to being monetized right now, so that's exciting. Be one of those first pioneers that helps us get to that goal, and if we hit it during Halloween month, that just validates Halloween is the most entertaining month of the year. It's a month, not a holiday.
Let me just get that clear real quick.
Let me try to start with a bit of backstory here, because I think you're going to be blown away at some of the history. This is a very popular cartoon. I didn't realize just how popular. The universal classic monsters of that era,
Yes.
you know, the Wolfmans and the Frankenstein and Draculas, they were having a resurgence of popularity in the 60s, and the producer of Filmation, the company that made this, Lou Scheimer, had grown up with them and wanted to create a zany cartoon parody, and Filmation had also created the Archie Show, which had gotten so popular that it was getting a spin-off, which you might actually know as Sabrina the Teenage Witch. CBS wanted a show that had to share a block with Sabrina, and they were hoping to find something to kind of write off the success of Scooby-Doo. These 2 cartoons, Sabrina and Groovie Ghoulies, they came together for a 1-hour block. It was just called Sabrina and the Groovie Ghoulies. These characters would cross over into each other, and it was the highest-rated kids show at the time. Yeah, I know. I'm blown away by that. And eventually it would split off from Sabrina and got used in a ton of different ways that I don't even have time to explain. There was a Looney Tunes crossover, bro. Daffy Duck and Porky Pig meet the Groovie Ghoulies. I'm not even kidding you. There was an anthology series, the Groovie Ghoulies and Friends. It had a bunch of other Filmation cartoons, but they were the leads, and that thing lasted 104 episodes. Everyone is exactly the same formula. I know, because after I watched the first one, I had to watch several. I was so into it. This might be some of the most fun I've ever had watching a cartoon. They sort of find a way to introduce the tiniest semblance of a plot at the beginning of every episode. In this one, we kind of had a play, where this is Red Riding Hood, but the monster characters were dressing as the characters and performing a play while the audience heckled them.
If this is bad, I'm gonna ask for my mummy back!
That made literally no sense. Why did they do it? First question. Second question.
Why did they do it?
Where did all these people, where's their audience? Do they all live in the house? Is everyone just a resident of Transylvania? Is this just Hotel Transylvania, but 50 years ago? And trippier?
You call it Transylvania, it is Horrible Hall.
Get your nomenclature right.
All of the monsters do live there, I can confirm because I watched more. We get a segment right after this weird play, which is called The Weird Window Game. It wasn't enough to start the episode immediately with a bunch of puns and dad jokes, and have nothing else going on. We had to do it again for the second half of the episode. They just go off and do all of these Halloween-related jokes that could have easily just been pulled out of a Halloween Laffy Taffy box.
Would you like to see a real vampire coffin?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Some of them made me laugh a lot. Some of them because they're so bad that they make me laugh, and some that I actually got like a really genuine chuckle out of. But like, that's the show. It's just monster themed with a bunch of jokes that never stop coming. Did you have any favorite jokes that you happened to write down?
There was one where there was this like super long setup for this joke. This kid is on a stationary bike and the Frankenstein is like,
A little peddling is good for you.
you know, these other two kids mess with him, like messes up the bike. There's this whole sequence of the bike going around the house, and then it ends up in the two like bullier kids getting like spanked by the pedals of the bike. And the Frankenstein comes back is like,
Just as I said, a little paddling is good for you.
What? Was that just like a really cutesy, childish beat your kid joke? That's what I got out of that.
There were some recurring spanking jokes that did not age super well.
But those were my favorite, I will say.
Can we talk about Frankie for a second, okay? This Frankenstein's monster character, he has this running gag that I can confirm happens multiple times.
I needed that.
It happens with the exact same reused animation every time. And the voice acting. Can we talk about the voice acting really quick?
Half of the people are like really going over the top, and half of the people like just rolled out of bed and sent in a freaking SoundCloud voicemail, dude.
I might have known you'd be behind this, you bald head.
And no in-betweens either, between those two extremes that you just mentioned. And
Yeah.
for the record, I liked it. I appreciated that weird juxtaposition as a hilarious piece of history to watch.
And the title of the show is Groovie Ghoulies. And there's one character that fits the classic like stereotype of a groovy kid, and it's the Wolfman character.
Just goes to show you, man, never trust anyone over 3,000. You dig?
They're the only person that talks anything like that at all, and that's his whole personality. And he
Yes.
stole the show a little bit for me.
This werewolf beatnik, who you think about as
Yeah.
being like if Shaggy from Scooby-Doo was a wolfman, but less scared and more just like,
Hey, bro, that's out of sight. Oh, hey.
I did want to mention one other joke that I thought was funny. When they were doing the play, and the play was just awful and weird, one of the audience members goes, "Boo."
And it's a ghost.
Boo.
And that was pretty
was
funny.
not for you.
Dude,
But
I
speaking-
struggled writing notes for this show because it's joke. I mean, like the first 5 minutes, Dracula just goes, "They're driving me batty," and I think I heard that joke 5 freaking times.
And guess what? That is part of the intro for every single episode of the whole series, if you continue it. That's that same exact part. The show doesn't start until he says the batty line. I also literally wrote, this show was not built for note-taking. I couldn't keep up with
Yeah.
everything that was happening. I had to keep pausing. I actually watched it a second time to try to get more out of it. But, like, that's a good thing, because I was laughing so hard. Laughing for some of the right and wrong reasons. It was just a mishmash of, but it worked, right? I don't know how people were feeling about it in the 70s, but me as a current audience member was so into it, to the point where I just wanted to keep watching. You talked about the play, the stage play. The play is obviously so ridiculous, and I thought it was fun that the audience is like getting their stupid joke quips in. But the craziest thing is that the play ends with like a master hand from Super Smash Brothers coming in
Yeah.
as like its own sentient thing and just smashing.
Reference from the Addams Family, the hand.
Is that okay? Because I would find out in a later episode that this character was called Ghoulihan and is a recurring gag throughout the series. I want to
Now we
talk
know.
about a couple of my favorite jokes. In the window segment where they're just rapid firing, what kind of boat does a vampire sail? A blood vessel. That character Bella, she was holding like a crystal ball. Somebody asked,
Are you a medium?
No, I'm an extra long.
Oh my god, I didn't get that joke until you just said that. I've never heard of a size extra long.
That was weird.
There's one line, this isn't a joke, but at one point the Wolfman just goes, "Wow-a-Rooney." Did someone actually write on a script, "Wow-a-Rooney"? And they didn't think,
probably.
maybe. Alright. One thing that I will really give to this show's credit, even though they reuse a lot of animation, is the Halloween imagery and like the spooky imagery of the classics. Like, that is completely on point. They do not miss a frame for the whole anything that I saw of actually really good imagery. And the animation's not bad. It's fun. Like, the whole, even though I think the songs are like really weird, I remember seeing this angle of like Drac playing the keyboard, and in the back you see Frankie on the playing the bones.
Xylophone, the xylophones.
All right.
I can be a writer. What am I doing here? I gotta be a writer for the Groovie Ghoulies show. What do you think, eh?
You could just write for our show.
Briefly want to talk about the horrible moment at the end of the play where somebody says,
Penny saved is a penny earned.
and then they ask,
What has that got to do with this story? Nothing. I just like saving pennies.
no joke at all. It feels like the kind of thing that, like, child stories, right? Where kids write out a thing and they put it in. And I don't mean to demean the actual creators of the show, because I think that a bunch of the stuff that they did here was actually very intentional to get people like me to laugh. And I think that's cool.
My weirdest moment was the first song that I heard.
Just take a look in the monster cookbook.
I saw this happening, and I was like, okay, cool, a cute little sound number, like, that's fine. It just kept going. Like, they just kept adding verses and recycling animation. And I got to a point where I literally looked at the time on the video. I'm like, how long is this episode? How much time could they I'm used to, like, Adventure Time now, where we have, like, 11-minute episodes. I'm like, this thing has, like, a full-fledged, like, 4.5-minute song section in the middle of it. And it just keeps going. And it's just, like, repeating the chorus. They did the whole, like, you know, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And I'm like, okay, that's gotta be the... And then there's another verse and a bridge. And I'm like, what is this? And it was so weird.
I wrote down, these songs should be 4 times shorter, but I want them to be 4 times longer because I couldn't stop laughing. Don't get me wrong, they were terrible. Like, I genuinely expected them to be better than this for, like, 70s bubblegum pop music of the era.
I grew up. I'm gonna do my thing.
I did get that vibe a little bit, but there were Scooby-Doo songs that were great. So I had that in my head as we were gonna get something more along those lines, and this was not that.
My note on these songs was it was like a mix of that like 60s, 70s pop that you were early 70s pop you were talking about, but then also with like really, really kid music, you know, Blue's Clues or something. It was like a weird hybrid of those two things.
You said your wow moment. I've got one for you. Drac says to Wolfie and Frankie he has a game room, to which Frankie accidentally breaks in. Frankie says, "Golly jeepers, what are all these things?" Which Drac replies, "My collection of playthings." Wolfie points at a torture device and asks, "What does this baby do?" Ow! To which Drac says,
This is one of my favorites!
"Great for taking the kinks out of your back." He goes to demonstrate the removal of the kinks. As Wolfie accidentally turns to the torture device and turns it on, Drac shouts, "Enough! Enough! The kinks are out!" And Drac's freakiness was my
Zoinks!
moment of the episode.
I don't think that was intentional.
I don't know! He has a game room with his playthings that are torture devices where he gets his kinks out. That's literally what was happening in the scene.
I guess when you piece it together like that, then, I don't know. Hey, let us know what you think in the comments. Was that a real kink joke, or were they playing it safe? Was it unintentional? Did they just not know? I don't know.
That's good.
Was that even a word then? The Kinks was a band of the 70s. Maybe it was a band joke. They're the Groovie Ghoulies. It was a reference. I got nothing more to say about this. No, let's go. Bye, everyone.
Alright, well then let me plug our charity of the week. It's going to be the Educational Theater Foundation. Their purpose is to provide financial support to enhance theater education and to expand access to school theater programs for every child. This cartoon really reminded me of like improv theater, and a lot of the joy that I got in college especially was out of the theater programs, and I think it's just awesome for kids, especially underprivileged kids, to be able to have theater at their schools. Definitely donate to that charity if it's something that speaks to you as well. Follow us on social media, everybody. You can keep up with what we've got going on, especially for Halloween month. It's a good time to do it.
We have a Discord channel where we talk about things. Join us and talk about things.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy Halloween again. Can't wait to do it next week with Gravity Falls, one of the best shows of all time. Teaser.
Oh man, I can really feel the gravity of this episode.
All right. Now you can be a writer for the Groovie Ghoulies. So good, anybody, any child, and that's the best part of the show. All right, dude. Let's get out of here. We've had plenty of time.